All right, that's enough of the music. I'm too excited. I'm here with none other than the best ball goat himself. Liam is in the building. Liam, say what's up, buddy.
What's going on, everybody? Excited to be here.
Listen, guys, I know that I get on here and I'm excited and I'm like, this guy's the GOAT and stuff, right? Like you hear me say that. However, this time, I actually mean it. The man has won billions of dollars playing best ball. He is a 3-time champ. He'd hold up the rings like this. Do they get rings? Liam, do you have a ring? I know you have a picture of a ring on your website, but is there a ring?
I don't have it with me right here, but I do have one ring. Underdog gives rings for winning some of their contests.
That is so baller. That is literally baller. I think you deserve 3 rings, but we'll take 1 ring because there's only a couple of those floating around out there. But I mean it. Liam is the GOAT. He's won 3 massive best ball contests and probably a ton of other maybe smaller ones or top 10 finishes and stuff. So honestly, it's an honor to have you here and to pick your brain. And listen, I'm going to defer to you in a lot of places. I'm sure I'll have my biases and stuff, but you're the man. Like, so we're going to fire this Bbmv up. We already got all the legalities out of the way. If this team wins, we're splitting it right down the middle after taxes, of course. And and then we'll maybe we should go to the final game or something. Like if we're sweating out a week 17, I mean, at the very least, we got to FaceTime and watch it together, right?
Yeah, you got to touch base if we're made to end. And
I mean, come on.
thank you for the kind intro. We're gonna do our best here. I want this to be a collaborative thing.
Yeah,
I think when you do a guest stream, it's important you have input from the guests here. So let's build a winner here.
Yes, sir. Listen, Adam Krautwurst says 2 things. One of them Liam will really appreciate. The other one he probably feels meh about. Before bed at 6 p.m. I don't have time to make a million intros. All right. Normally I'm streaming before bed, Adam. You know this. And Adam also says, go Bills.
Go Bills, baby. Yeah, my when I won, my name was Go Bills, and I mean you can't change your username anymore, but you got a one-time change back in the day, and so I changed it because I didn't want people drafting all the Bills players if I thought they were good values, which every year it seems like the Bills offense is a little bit discounted just because you had guys like Gabe Davis who was a very polarizing figure, but arguably was an ideal best ball guy when he was cheap.
Yeah. He'd either catch 4 touchdowns or none, pretty much. It's like there's very little in between with Gabe Davis. Like he'd go out there and get you 3 or 4 or, nothing that week or something, or very little. But if I strike a nerve on your Bills fandom here, you call me right out. So I'm Liam. I don't think you know this, but I live in Western New York, literally Bills country. Yeah. So I am not a Bills fan. I'm a Colts fan. But I have a lot of respect and love for the Bills. Adam and a bunch of my friends obviously are big Bills fans. So I've softened up to them over the years. I mean, Josh is a hard person not to root for. Let's say that at least.
Yeah, and I mean, you're not going to defend me anything you say. I grew up in Pat's, country, so
wow.
you can tell I'm a loyal Bills fan because it was during the dynasty era, going to school, and once you play enough fantasy football, you draft players from every team, so you can't be too biased here.
That's right. Yeah, I try not to be, but I mean, we are taking Anthony Richardson with the 2nd overall pick, right? Like, despite the anti-bias.
He is a guy who you could easily see be the QB1. Me, and I'm sure a lot of sharp people were in on Richardson last year where, I had like upwards of like 20, 30% in some contests. And so it's a bummer because you absolutely 100% good process going in on such an athletic freak and just got injured. And I was a little surprised how the market reacted to Richardson in the sense that I think they're correct, right? Because okay, you have this guy who got injured, right away, but we saw it, right? We saw the rushing, we saw him being a goal line guy.
Yep.
And so, boom, 5th round pick ahead of guys like Stroud, usually right behind Mahomes, right behind Lamar. And I was just surprised that the market correctly wasn't punishing him for the injury. But then you have a guy like Jaden Daniels, and it's confusing to me, right? Because it's like, okay, you had this guy rushing archetype, gets hurt, 5th round pick. And then
Yep.
you have arguably a better prospect, but not quite the rushing
Sure.
quarterback in the sense that he's 205 pounds, Jaden
Right.
Daniels, compared to Anthony Richardson's 245. So he's probably unlikely to be like as much as a goal line threat. But with him, they're just like, okay, 10th round pick, like similar to Richard
Yep.
Price last year. So I'm definitely into a guy like Jaden Daniels at cost.
Dude, last year, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the upside is similar. However, around the goal line, the Colts were really willing to give him the ball and to run those RPOs and stuff and just let him pound it in to his own detriment. I remember one play, I can't remember who they were playing, but he ran it in and he literally had like an open run to the end zone, but a guy was coming up and he was going to like lay a hit on him right at the goal line. And instead of like Richardson avoiding it, like he ducked down and like wanted the hit. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this to me? And I think that was one of the games he ended up leaving early too, not necessarily because of that hit, but yeah, honestly. And I don't get a lot of things right always in best ball. However, I was like upwards of like 30 to 33% on him last year because he was the 11th round. We knew he could run, and I'm a Colts fan. So I'm like, this is an easy one for me.
Yeah.
And then when he got hurt, it broke my heart and all my teams. But yeah, I'm very curious. I was very surprised too to see how fast people were to forgive him, quote unquote. And like, I know he ruined a lot of teams last year, but to put him right there, top 5, I mean, I think he deserves it, but I'm surprised too.
Yeah, you easily see the QB1 in the range for him,
Right.
What pick did we get, by the way?
We got 9. We're pick
9?
9. Yeah.
Could you click the draft board? I always find seeing the draft board is best. Just it lets us see, how others are building.
Oh, we got 10. I'm sorry. We got 10. Wow.
And
Bijan went second.
Already a wild card pick here. Bijan at 2, but honestly, like I'm for creating unique combinations in such a big contest like Ball Mania 5. And Bijan, I think, is a great guy to quote unquote reach with for uniqueness because you can see the RB1 in the cards for him.
Yeah. And then the coach came out the other day and said, basically, compared him to CMC's usage and said he wants to use him and get the ball to him as many times as possible in every, instance possible. So I'm sure that drives it a little bit.
He's like, I'm going to be used like CMC.
And did he? He's the one that said, okay.
And then the coach was asked about it and was like, yeah. Like, let's get the ball to Bijan.
I don't know. I mean, like, listen, you could totally see it. Wow, look at Brees going 5-2. A little bit of a flip here. People aren't just jumping in on the wide receiver.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb at the 1-4 is quite the gift.
The
thing with CMC, the thing with Tyreek is they're just the oldest of the guys, right? So, Bijan, Lamb, Chase, we don't have any age concerns on them. I know Puka's kind of polarizing, but I've been taking a lot of Puka. I'll even take him ahead of Bijan and Brees, who I don't dislike. It's just in today's landscape, you don't want to get buried at wide receiver. And I mean, what's the dislike about Puka?
Right. So right here, would you take, assuming, I mean, okay, so Garrett Wilson goes, would you take Puka or AJ Brown? Because I have a decent amount of Puka. I have less of Brown, so I've been trying to grab Brown more.
If you want to go Brown just to mix it up, I'm fine with Brown. I've always been an AJ Brown guy. I mean, truly an alpha dude, super high individual weekly upside. Like if one of them's going to be the wide receiver 1 between AJ Brown and Puka, I would choose Puka just because he's playing with a quarterback like Stafford, right? Where he's not going to have as many touchdowns stolen away from him. But Stafford, the risk of Stafford is that he gets hurt at his age. And AJ Brown doesn't need to be the wide receiver 1 to pay off in best ball.
Right. I mean, he's got AJ Brown's coming in with 2 really solid seasons. I feel like what to expect out of him in Philly. Like his floor pretty much unless he gets hurt. And Puka just makes me. I don't have anything against Puka. It's just like, okay, we've seen one great season in an ideal situation where, all right, let's see. Who do we like here?
I think we go double alpha and rip IU. If we're going AJ Brown, who is like a grown-ass man down the field, you tap in Ayuk, who is like arguably one of the best route runners in the NFL.
Yeah.
and another alpha down the field, and you just get, Brown and Ayuk just have huge weekly upsides where they
Yep.
literally can catch 3 to 4 touchdowns with their explosion.
Yeah. So like, I love this start. I don't have any problems with our start here. I've been grabbing a lot of Ayuk. I actually like him better than like Olave. I love Nico, but we all know that Diggs is there now too. So like, how does that target, what does that target share look like when it's all said and done? And then you've got, I mean, Drake London too. Actually, I'd probably argue that I would be fine with Ayuk right there with any of those. And I almost maybe prefer Ayuk. And I don't know if that's silly to say, but like Drake London and Olave are hard sells to me right now, maybe more so London. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about that. Do you like that tier of those? Like, let's say it's Olave and Drake London, like, are kind of in that similar space with like Nico and Devontae Adams and Harrison. Like, how do you feel about that little grouping there?
So here's what I'll say, right? Like, I'm with you in the sense that you get a little bit of sticker shock on London and Olave. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, I totally understand it, right? Because
Okay.
why is the sticker shock happening? Well, because London, Olave, arguably there's not huge differences between them and guys
Mm-hmm.
who are available in the third round. A guy like Zay Flowers, a guy like Tank Dell, right? These are still
Sure.
wide receivers we like on good offenses. DK Metcalf, like if you told me DK Metcalf went where Olave went, I'd be like, sure, right? Why
Yeah.
doesn't he? Because we have less confidence behind Olave and target order. However, it doesn't really matter in today's landscape where wide receivers are more expensive than ever. And so I don't want to fade London and Olave fully. Like I do prefer Ayuk
Okay.
comparing them because I'm a top down offense type of guy, right? Like I think
Yep.
the 49ers are going to score a lot of points. Give me the guys on the 49ers.
Yep.
But with Olave, right, like the usage was there. He just had like a weird touchdown season. I could see him having that 10 touchdown season where he does return that value, right? He plays
Okay.
in the dome a lot. With London, it can't be understated going from Desmond Ritter to Kirk Cousins, right? Like
Sure.
if Kirk Cousins is the quarterback the whole year and he's around 4,300 yards, 30-ish touchdowns, London's going to return value, And
Okay.
so I think what like people remarking on some of the individual wide receivers, like they're more just talking about of like, well, you got these workhorse running backs, you got wide receivers are not that different, but the fact is you have to start 3 a week. So
Sure.
like, do you want Olave to be one of your 3 wide receivers, or do you want Mike Williams to be one of your 3?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the drop off of going from like Saquon to pick a running back, even Ramondre, is not going to be super big unless Saquon just scores way more touchdowns.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I have to get over it because I do want exposure to both of them. I don't want to fade them at all. Like I do want some of them at least, but I think you're right. It's just that sticker shock. And Drake London's done, he's done okay so far. Olave has the opportunity and you see flashes, but like then other times I see Olave and he's like not even trying on routes. And that stuff's hard to that's what is it? Oh, yeah, that stuff's hard
Yeah,
for
and
me to
it's like
overcome
you're
though,
not
too. It's
stoked
like,
about Derek Carr ever, right?
right,
So
sure.
I just clicked that. You see that little grid by your name, by the way? That's what I like to click for the draft board, just to toggle between.
What did you click? The grid. Oh, right there.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
just
Just
toggles
go back and
between
forth.
versus
Okay.
opening a separate window. Um,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Let me close
Here,
that out then.
my mic settings are not good. I thought my mic sounding echoey to you?
A little bit, but it's not bad. It's
Okay.
really not bad. Like I promise it's probably not. Do you want to you think we grab a running
Let's
back
look
here or do
out.
we go Zay?
Yeah, let's go Zay. And we
Yeah,
just get
that's what I was
another
thinking
guy
too.
who can win that, he's
Yep.
capable of winning down the field, could be the engine of the Ravens offense, and we got a piece of the Eagles, 49ers, and Ravens. Like that sounds like a dream.
I like it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just recently changed my office around, so maybe I'm just getting more wall echo with nothing on the
Yeah.
wall.
I've battled that a little bit myself. I put those things up behind on the wall, like the sound absorbers and stuff, and I don't know if they made a big difference. I mean, they can't hurt, but all right.
So
let's see here. Henry's still there. Oh, you know what I don't have up? I don't have the week 17.
I'm not as big into Henry. I'm okay with it.
What about
I
EPN?
kind of like going Hurts with us having AJ Brown and just getting an
Okay.
elite quarterback.
I like it.
You
And
know,
then once you get somebody like this, okay, so for this build right here, like we're not taking a quarterback till like round 12, right? Like you're going to wait a while before you're taking your second quarterback, or do you not subscribe to that logic and you kind of have your own thoughts about it?
No, I think in general, when you spend on an elite quarterback, you should be waiting on your QB2.
Okay.
But you know, if Lamar was there in the fifth, I would do that every once in a while. You know,
Really?
if Purdy's if Purdy's there, I would do that sometimes, right? Like, you
Yeah.
know, but
I
in
think I could get
general, you
behind
know, like,
Purdy.
yeah, waiting on your QB2 is fine for like a guy around Rodgers, Stafford, whoever, you know.
I think I could get behind Purdy, and I love like I'm a big, and I know it's like not contrarian by any means, but like I'm a big like stacker. Like I never like having a naked quarterback unless they are maybe Anthony Richardson, maybe, and even that I've been taking a lot of Adonai Mitchell. Not big on the Richardson and Pittman stack. I don't know. I'm just not a
It's
big.
expensive. It's
It
expensive
is,
to
and
go
it
for.
it is, and I'm just not a huge, and I'm a Colts fan. I've watched every game for years. I've watched every game of Pittman's. I'm just not a huge Pittman guy this year. I think they actually have a decent wide receiving core now, with Josh Downs being no slouch either. Not that he's a huge red zone target guy or touchdown guy by any means, but then you still got Anthony Richardson running in touchdowns. You got Jonathan Taylor. Then you've got Pittman. You've got Adonai Mitchell, who's probably going to be good for some. Josh Downs might get some. And then they got like 2 or 3 of these massive tight ends and like Jelani
Yeah.
Woods, Mo Alley Cox. They got Kyle Granson, who's okay. So there's just so many mouths to feed. So he would be a guy I could take Richardson because of the rushing upside. But so I'm big into like exactly what you said. Like if we're going to go and if it just, you know, if the room comes to us and it makes sense to take, Purdy and then do the double stack, like I don't hate it. You've got 2 very good quarterbacks stacked with 2 elite wide receiver ones. And you know, then you just take those 2 quarterbacks and you're done. That's my thing. Like I don't love taking 3 quarterbacks unless I'm very suspect. Like unless I have 3 suspect quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. I'm very much like a 2 2 7 8 2 build or whatever like that, something like that. Like I end with 2 tight ends a lot and I end with 2 quarterbacks a lot. More so 3 tight ends than the 3 quarterbacks, but that's just like I don't know, my comfort level, I guess. That's kind of where I get locked in a little bit.
In general, in 18 round sites, I am building 2 QB. And with
Okay.
Hurts, like with a Hurts type guy, I'm never going 3. Like
Love it. Listen,
almost.
I love what I'm hearing. I'm like, right, almost. I love what I'm hearing that I'm on the right track here. And yeah, thanks for giving me that affirmation, Liam. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Listen, A-Rod, you're right. That poodle's about to fill.
Yeah, like when you take a Hurts, the idea is you want to try to absorb all those points over the 17 weeks, you know, and then you're really just hoping that against the Cowboys, he goes off
Yep.
for 2 rushing touchdowns. He gets that passing touchdown to AJ Brown. Like he can have that 40-point game against the Cowboys, and maybe a very important game for them to
Yeah,
close the season.
absolutely. So do you have the week 17 games memorized? I think I've heard you
Absolutely.
talk about it.
Absolutely.
Who do the Colts play?
They play the Giants.
So proud of you. That's my only
Give me
test.
another one. Give me another one.
I trust you. Man, I don't know. I know this one. Who do the Cardinals play?
They play the Rams.
Yeah. I shouldn't test you. You're the GOAT. Listen, guys, I said it for a reason. I'm not exaggerating. It's like Sean McVay's brain over here for week 17. Just knows everything.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's something you gotta know.
Yeah, I know. You're better than me. I have to pull up the cheat sheets though. Because all right, so here's a good question. All right, hold on. Let's focus up for a second. I don't want to botch this for us here. There's a lot going on. All right, here's going to be the ADP. Hollywood Brown and Jaden Green sitting up there. We've got no running back. If these running backs are available, that's really it. And then you go down to Kenneth Walker. What are you looking at here?
I think we could continue the theme of just betting on good teams and like take James Cook as our he has a really high weekly ceiling where
Yep.
he can give you that 30-point plus week with his speed and explosion. He goes.
Of course he
So
does. I kind of thought that might happen, but
I think let's take your favorite of the Chiefs guys, either Hollywood or Worthy, and take a stab at their offense.
I'm gonna go with some of the stuff I've been reading and how they're talking about Hollywood Brown looking good. They're saying he looks good. Xavier Worthy's a rookie. Rookies, I mean, I know that we've been spoiled lately, but rookies don't pop off that often, which is what makes me a little nervous about the guy I wanted the Colts to draft, which is Marvin Harrison Jr., because of the lineage, the lineage pick. But I mean, wide receivers don't always go crazy or don't do it that frequently even. Does he have a high ceiling? Probably, but what's his like touchdown upside? You probably could talk me into either one. But
I like betting on rookies in general. I think they're good bets for best ball tournaments because even if they aren't giving you production over the beginning of the season, their production is usually weighted towards when the money matters.
Right.
And like a guy, I think like let's take Worthy here. And just say, you know what?
Back them both.
Maybe it's Hollywood, maybe it's Worthy. Ideally, one of them doesn't go to zero. And so we got two pieces of the Chiefs. And I think, the Chiefs were that dink and dunk offense pretty much last year.
Yeah.
And now I think they are going to be trying to attack down the field because it really can't be understated going from Justin Watson and MBS to going to Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy.
Massive upgrades there at both spots. No, I think you're right. I think they did that last year just out of necessity. Like they worked with what they had, they had, oh my gosh, Kadarius Toney. That was a guy. So, full transparency.
He's still there.
Listen, is he though? He's there, but is he there? Listen, full transparency. I was high on Anthony Richardson last year. I was high on Kadarius Toney. He was one of my highest drafted wide receivers because you saw flashes when he was with the Giants. And I'm like, okay, this guy might be good given a good system and a good quarterback. Sure enough, he goes there, can't catch a dang thing. And it was painful to watch. And I remember just watching the ball bounce off his hands so many times in so many primetime games. And I'm like, this is terrible. Like, there's no way you're going to keep giving him the ball. And sure enough, he moved right down the depth chart.
Yeah, I didn't draft too many of the Chiefs wide receivers last year that were expensive. Like, I didn't know Sky Moore. I can't even remember that, but you have better art if I said it was insulting. Just kidding, man.
Liam, are you a known? Are you difficult when people try to give you gifts? Are you a difficult gift giver or gift receiver?
I don't think so. But if someone gave you something, if someone made an image for you that you didn't want to use, does that make you difficult, or do you just not like it?
I don't think it does. I think you'd be like, oh,
like if I drew the Hulk by hand on paint right now and was like, here, man, here's this gift for you, and it was not good.
I'm putting it in the background of my streams from now on. I have to do it.
Well,
I have to do it. It's going to go on a canvas. I see a lot of bare wall behind you there. I'm going to give you a drawing. Liam, this is for you. It's a gift, Todd. I'll be taking the painting with me.
It's just out of picture here,
Oh, I see. That's fair. Listen, I believe you. That's fair. That's a fair statement. Graphic, he's got it there. All right. And I agree. If it's bad art, it's bad art. But
well, on our start though, I really like it, especially for half point PPR, where all of our guys we are thinking are going to run down the field routes.
Yep.
They're all attached to elite offenses.
Yep.
And now is when we're going to start hitting our running backs. If a tight end sticks out, like if we can get Goddard at ADP, I think we'll do it. Ideally, we get, if Brandon Cooks is there later to correlate, I think we'll do it. But almost certainly double tapping running back these next two picks and living with the quality of the wide receivers we've taken and only going maybe 7 or so, 8 max.
Right. Yeah, I think if I was alone, so I'm thinking of like, what would I do if Liam wasn't here to guide me? And I was like, I think I'd probably end at like 7 receivers, unless for whatever reason the room really pushed somebody at me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna turn down a good play just because I'm not stubborn like that. I know I mentioned like my builds and stuff, and I'm like, this is where I end up finding myself a lot. But it's just because I gauge like, am I comfortable with my quarterbacks? Are they on different bye weeks? Great. Then I'm comfortable with that. And I'd like to stack up at positions that I got a chance to play guys or play more guys each week. So that's kind of where I find myself, but I'm not so stubborn where I wouldn't grab somebody if they just made sense and they fell into our laps too. So, all right.
It doesn't even seem like there's many wide receivers to tempt us. I mean, we could go
No.
for the trifecta. We could hit Rice and be. He got a lot of buzz today, where apparently he caught like, I don't know, 7 touchdowns and 7-on-7.
Well, that's never the concern though with Rice, right? Like the only
No,
reason he's where he is just, is he going to go to jail? Is he going to be suspended for
I don't
7
see
to
him
8
going
games or
to
something?
jail.
No, he'll just be
And
suspended, right?
yeah, and I don't know, like how steep can that be? I do think it's different. Like the video was bad, you know.
All right, so I'm a Jonathan Brooks lover. So you're gonna have to talk me out of taking either him or Ramadre here to get a running back. If I was thinking like, okay, what would I do? But if you want to go Rashee
All right,
Rice,
let's do Brooks then. Let's do Brooks. I like Brooks.
you sure?
He's on a bad team.
Listen, Liam, don't let me cost us $1 million. You got 6 seconds.
No, let's go running back.
Okay. All right.
I think going Rice there sometimes is fine, where you've just captured all of the Chiefs'
whole
offense,
Yeah.
except for Kelsey.
Except for the one that maybe matters the most potentially.
Well, but and the guy who could lose a step
Sure.
even further, you know.
I agree with you there. Yep.
And I do like Brock Bowers a lot too. I would have been okay for elite tight end, but he doesn't usually go this expensive.
He's been
And then,
moving
I
up like
mean,
crazy.
this pick is probably between like White, Swift, Moss, or Warren for me. And Stevenson is fine too, but he like I think you could easily look back and be like, our starting running backs are on the Panthers and Patriots.
All right, listen though, Liam. Rashee Rice is still sitting there now. We're further back into ADP. Now is it like throwing it in our face where we got to take him?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I mean, right? That's what we talked about. I don't want to regret it.
And we can just stop at 6 wide receivers. And it's like, who cares if Rice serves a 5-game suspension? Who cares if he serves a 6-game? As long as it's not a 17-game suspension,
he's back when it matters.
I think we'll be fine, you know?
Yep. I like it. You know what? And that's what we talk about. Like one thing I try to always do, and I've always tried to keep it in mind, is like, let the room come to you. I'm not saying like, be unprepared and just go crazy and willy-nilly and stuff and do things that don't make sense. But like the room kind of, that Rashee Rice fell to us and he was just sitting there and we're like, okay, we're going to go down and we're going to grab a running back we like to fill a need. And then all of a sudden he's still there again, 4 picks later or whatever. It's like, all right, listen, he was a stud. If this wasn't for, what he's potentially facing, like he'd be going with like DK Metcalf, right? Like somewhere around there. Would he be going higher? Would he be going with like Olave?
No, we don't even have to ask that question because we have the big board contest before the suspension. And yeah, he was going at the 2-3 turn. So he was going by could you click the draft board, by the way?
Oh yeah, my fault. Yeah.
I just like to see if anyone's doing anything wild as far as like boarding positions.
Would it be helpful? Do you want me to zoom out or anything?
No, this is good. I'm just such a visual guy, and I think
I got you. Yeah.
The people watching like to see the players tick off too sometimes.
Yep.
But no, this is a start I haven't done enough. Going Rice worthy Hollywood. Like I've just not gotten enough of the Chiefs guys, and so I like it a lot. Where it's honestly okay if one of the Chiefs guys is like a relative disappointment at ADP, as long as 2 of them are not, and or like let's pretend Hollywood whatever is like only 10 points per game, which would be like kind of disappointing. If he catches 2 touchdowns against the Steelers, week 17, who cares? Let's go.
Absolutely.
Maybe Rice gets us there. Maybe Worthy gets us there, and then Hollywood has the better week in the finals or something at low ownership.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I love Rice where we got him. I mean, I really do. Like, you're getting a guy that would be, as you said, in the rounds 2 or 3, and we got him here. Like, who cares? Miss the first, 6 to 8 games of the season. You come back healthy, couple of games to get yourself back into game shape and stuff, and you're peaking right at the perfect time where we'll need you. So I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I think it's worth it, and history has shown us that we should buy fearful dips, because the fear is almost never justified.
Sure.
Like people just don't want to get burned, and you got to be willing to get burned a little bit because I mean, what is the drop? That the drop off is going from like Rashee Rice to Cortland Sutton is like
Yeah.
like okay, unless Bo Nix is really good, that's a big drop off.
Yep. Huge. And like you said, you've said it a couple of times. I like taking players, especially wide receivers, that are attached to good teams and good offenses that are going to put up a lot of points. So that's never a bad thing.
Yeah, and so like I like Brooks too, just because I think he's talented, but there is that concern. And like, the Panthers have to be better this year. They've invested a lot on
Right.
their line. They brought in guys, but what's got you loving Brooks?
I just think that I think that I've watched his tape in college and I think the talent is there and he goes to a spot and we saw Chuba Hubbard is not the guy, I don't think. So he really is going to come in. And I think his biggest thing right now is he going to be healthy enough, which I saw that he's going to be healthy for week 1, but like, what does that mean? So as long as he's healthy though, and he really is himself, like he's definitely the best back in that backfield. I'm not going to come on here and say that I love Carolina's offense, but with running backs, I don't care. I guess I should clarify, like with what I said, like I don't think running backs need to be on incredible offenses. I just think they need a lot of opportunity. I think that that's where he fits the bill. All right. Man, I
Let's
don't love
go.
Tony Pollard. You like Pollard?
Let's go, Benson.
Like it. I like it. I was already
I
thinking
think
it
that
too.
we got the rookie running backs. I think Brooks and Benson's an incredibly fun duo where, yeah, okay, the hope with Pollard is more that he is the goal line back. The Titans are better than we think because, yes, opportunity matters at running back, but if the team is like that brutal where they're punting a lot, it's
Sure.
like last year's Patriots. Like I think
Yeah.
Ramondre was a lesson from that, right? Like when they're that like I was even though I thought the Patriots would be terrible, I was
Yeah.
drafting Ramondre because I was like, well, the volume will be there,
Sure.
and it kind of was at points with the passing game, like once Bailey Zappi got in there before he got hurt, but ultimately it's just hard for him to do explosive things.
You
I
want to
think we
grab our tight
go.
end?
Yeah, I'm between Brian Robinson or Goddard.
Let's see. Who else is out there? I don't
I
mind
think let's go Goddard.
Freiermuth.
Let's go Goddard.
Okay.
I like B Rob, but
Me too. That's the other guy I was looking at. Yeah, you saw it. I had it on the board. And honestly, the reason I put Shaheed on there is just because I think it's interesting this year with the new kickoff rule.
yeah,
I think there's a really good chance that Shaheed's returning kickoffs. I saw something that said Austin Eckler was taking kickoffs today in practice. And I think that that's going to be like maybe an under thought about strategy right now, where by like week 3 or 4, you're going to get some of the more explosive players on the teams, whether they're Tyreek Hill and your stud or your Rashid Shaheed or whatever, and just like a burner, and they're going to be back there returning kicks, and you might be able to snag some free touchdowns there. And so that's been something I've been keeping in the back of my mind that I don't think enough people are thinking of, or maybe they are, and maybe I'm not smart like I think I am, but I was like, that was
well,
something I've been thinking about a little bit.
I'm not thinking about that too much. But it's like I'm of the mindset that if there is scoring to start the season, teams are going to just start kicking the ball well out of the end zone and just giving teams the ball at the 30.
Sure.
Right? Like if the choice between kick the ball to Tyreek Hill or just give them give them the ball at the 30, I might be just choosing to give them the ball at the 30. I
Sure.
think structurally we shouldn't go wide receiver there a lot. Even
Yeah.
like there's a lot to like in Shaheed for best ball. He's a downfield guy, plays in the dome.
But just not on this team. I'm with you.
Yeah, just not on this team.
I'm
And
with you.
Benson, like to finish the thoughts on like why Benson over Pollard. I just think Benson is for sure still explosive, and it's
Yep.
not impossible that he becomes the 1A in Arizona, which could be much better than we think with Kyler healthy, right? And just
Yeah.
like Martin, like what if they, their defense is still probably not good, but I'm expecting at least the offense to be serviceable.
They should be in some high scoring games. A lot of
Yeah,
opportunities for touchdowns. So
yeah, and Pollard is, he was showing himself to be healthy at the end of last year. it should just be a 1A, 1B between him and Spears. Who that is as 1A, I think is hard to say. I think they're both kind of helped by, like Tyler, you're not really worried about Tyler Boyd as the third pass catcher, where they could easily be getting a lot of dump offs. But
Right.
I just prefer betting on the younger, more explosive back.
Well, especially for running back, man, like where you're likely to get injured potentially. I mean, it's the most injury prone position. So you're betting on at least young legs, young people that are less likely to get hurt, hopefully. Whereas, like you said, I mean, Pollard has an injury history. Who's going to be the guy there? I mean, Tyjae Spears is good. Like he's a good player. He's talented and stuff. So who knows what shakes out there. And like you said, James Conner, what is James Conner? 27, 28. He's had a little bit of injury history, if I'm not mistaken. But James Conner, I mean, I know he scored a ton of touchdowns. Like James Conner had a good year last year, but he is getting up there, I think. I gotta say he's like 27 or 28, right? How old is
he? He's like 28.
Oh my gosh, dude, he's 29.
29, yeah. Yeah,
That's getting
he's
up there
old
running back.
and he's just never really had anyone behind him. And
Yeah.
obviously, I would guess that Connor's at least the goal line back to start. But again, like Benson went high in the draft. It's not impossible that towards the money weeks, Benson is the guy who you really want. It doesn't mean I don't ever draft Connor. Like I think for these ambiguous running backs, you should be drafting them both at different times.
Oh, I love Chase Brown. I like where you can get Chase Brown.
He's a fun bet.
He is.
Can you click the running back button? Here we go.
That's who we're looking at based on ADP right now.
So I think we go with. I'm just stalling. We don't let the stream snipers here. I'm not an amateur. If you say who you want,
that's right. Listen, I'm telling you, he's an expert.
No, that's the worst thing. Like that's just like freely talking, and it's like player gone around early. It's like no, you got to be a little coy. Okay, I think Quorum was fine there. I think we go either Zeke or Ford 100%. I like both those guys a lot. Zeke gives you some week 17 correlation with the Eagles game, so maybe that could break the tie for us.
Yeah, I like Zeke there. I mean, purely because of the touchdown upside. Like, I'm not excited about Zeke necessarily, but I think that maybe he gets like a little resurgence going back to Dallas where he's had his best years and stuff. And now he's back in Dallas and, comfortable atmosphere. He's good friends with Dak. And maybe he looked okay last year for the Patriots at times. He had his moments. So, and we know he can score touchdowns, just fall over in the end zone if he has to. So yeah, I like Zeke there. I think I leaned it, but like you said, like Ford would have been fine there too. Not an exciting pick maybe, but
ranked a little bit higher than Zeke, but I think for this team, and Zeke can be kind of that PPR scam. Can you click running back again?
Yes, sir.
So
Charbonnet,
I think we either go Rico or Charbonnet, and we grab either both the Cowboys guys or we grab the second round pick. I'm not a Chubb guy. I don't know if you are.
No, I'm not. I mean, I want to be because of his talent, but just with the massive explosion of his knee, it's just hard to get excited. I saw him walking on the sideline today and I was like, I kind of joked about it on Twitter, but I kind of like zoomed in. I was like, is he walking okay? He looked great. I think he looks a little ginger. I mean, and he should be, but looks a little ginger. So I like Charbonnet there.
He's cheaper than he was last year, second round pick,
Yeah. And I don't love getting the two running backs, and then we'd have, and I don't know how much you look in bye weeks and stuff too, or how much you care at all. And I get it. Like we're trying to win the whole thing, but if we'd have two guys on week 7 bye weeks, two guys on week 11 bye weeks at a thinner running back position, that was kind of like something that helped tip the scales a little bit for me. Is that something that like wouldn't concern you at all because you're
I don't
just
care
like
about
baller?
You're a baller. I'm not a bye week guy too much.
I knew you were going to say that.
I will even like build in purposeful zeros, especially at tight end, just for the uniqueness.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. It's just to get like a unique roster.
Yeah, because I mean, people aren't doing it, and yes, sometimes advancing does come down to 15 to 20 points, but far more often it's like, did you draft Achane? Did you draft Mostert? And like, if you did, you were like way outpointing people. And like the idea of going Rico there is it's a really cheap cost to almost certainly lock up the Cowboys backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Just like what round are we in? We're in round
We're
12.
in.
Yeah, like
Oh
an
yeah.
11th and a
That's true.
12th to get the Cowboys RB1 sounds good to me.
Okay.
I'm expecting I take Zeke and I take Rico. I think Zeke could be this kind of like PPR scam guy where he kind of like was with the Patriots last year, where he's getting all these like dump off passes. And maybe he'll be the goal line, but maybe the younger guy in Rico will get the goal line work. I think both of them
Mm,
could be the 1A. And it's nice that like we're not worried about like Deuce Vaughn and who even could
no,
they bring in at this point unless they
I
do
think
trade for someone.
Khalil Herbert, right? That was like the one name I kept
Yeah, that's
seeing.
like a rumor, right? But it's
Yeah,
like,
it's just a
what are
rumor.
they? What is any team paying for Khalil Herbert that would get the Bears to trade him? You know,
Right. That's true.
because like
Like,
if I'm the Bears and it's like I'll give you a 7th round pick, I'll be like,
I'd rather
thanks,
just
I'll
keep him.
keep
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like what am I getting?
Yeah.
It's like okay, then if Swift goes down, at least I have Khalil Herbert and not
Yeah. It's
whoever.
like me offering you like 10 cents for something. You're like, I'd probably just keep it for 10 cents. Like, I'm not getting out of bed for that. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Seventh
and
round
like
pick
they're
for
not going
Khalil
to pay
Herbert.
like a fifth for Khalil Herbert.
No.
That's like they're just not going to do that. So
Okay.
I've not seen
Listen,
any substance behind this Herbert rumor. It's just like I think it's like an idea a lot of people had. Like, oh, there's a lot of guys in Bears. Maybe they cut someone, and maybe they do. Maybe they trade him, but I don't know. Wouldn't you trade for that guy already if you really wanted him?
probably you would think. Yeah, you would think, but you're right. There's probably not a market for that. Like, what market could there be? It'd have to be a sixth or a seventh, and six might be stretching it. So, yeah,
And even
it's
that,
probably
it's
like,
like, okay, I have my rookie quarterback in Caleb who after Roshan, I don't want to go to Tyler Scott or whoever their guy is, their
right.
third string or fourth string. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I like the team. Can you read it off for
Yes,
just
sir.
real
We've
quick?
got we got Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Zeke Elliott, Charbonnet, AJ Brown, Ayuk, Flowers, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Rasheed Rice, and we've got Dallas Goddard at tight end.
That's a fun
Um,
team. Let's go
yeah,
Jalen Wright for sure.
Jalen Wright. All right, I love it. One guy goes down in that Miami backfield. Jalen Wright's going to go bananas.
And he might not even need it. He's the biggest back in Miami by a lot.
You think he
He
gets the goal line work?
he might. That's what I'm saying. He
Okay.
weighs 210
Yeah.
pounds. Mostert and HN are not big, so if they do want some size at the goal line, maybe Wright gets it. And yeah, I think he's drawing more to be a zero than some of the guys around him.
Sure.
But we just know the upside
Yeah.
with Wright.
Yeah, and I think we can afford it if it doesn't work out for that potential upside too. I like that.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we'll tack on like one more quarterback. We'll tack on 2 tight ends.
all right.
I like
So,
I like Ray Davis here.
okay. I am a big Hunter Henry guy too. And I know it might sound crazy. I'm curious. Listen, you can be brutally honest with me and tell me if you hate Hunter Henry, but with all the uncertainty with their wide receiving core and the fact that we don't even know who's going to be quarterback, I get all that. But don't you think that if it is Drake May, that Hunter Henry potentially ends up leading them in like red zone targets? I mean, like,
No,
because
yeah, I think I draft Henry, and the thesis is that he is target number one,
yeah,
or like he could be anywhere from target one,
sure.
hopefully at worst target two, target three
Yeah,
on
I think so.
a much better team. Um,
Look at that. He
I
went right after. Went right
Yeah,
after
and
the
I'm
pick.
thinking like I can convince myself on some tight ends later, and I just think the tier break after Ray Davis is pretty big. Where I mean,
Okay.
Ray Davis, you're hoping he's the Bills goal line back. You're hoping, if not, he's at least getting like the Latavius Murray dump off, the Latavius Murray and Ty Johnson work. James Cook is not a goal line back,
Right.
and 4th round pick. So it's like on a good team, the offense, the upside is there. I
Yep.
quite like our running back room for not getting any until round 8 or whatever we did.
Yeah, I think we put it together. Um, how do you feel about Ben Sinnott? Like he kind of came out of nowhere. Like he wasn't even probably drafted, I think, for a while. And then all of a sudden now he's being drafted right up in here, which isn't high, but going from nothing to this, like, and I don't even know the reason. Is it just because it's only Zach Ertz there? I mean, is that the reason? Like,
The reason is because athleticism is a requirement to be a good fantasy tight end. And Ben
okay,
Sinnott is an elite athlete. And
okay,
so you can see the upside. The hope is that he's Laporta. The hope is that he's, Kincaid or whatever.
okay.
And so on a team that's going to be high pace in Washington with Cliff there, on a team like attached to a big arm quarterback, and I mean, look, Zach Ertz bounced around. I'm not scared of Zach Ertz. And
No,
so
I know, but he always finds a way to like snag touchdowns.
he's
I feel like at the
annoying. He
worst
has a
times.
relationship with Cliff.
Yeah,
He could be on the field early,
yeah,
but Sanat's got a lot of upside, but you're not wrong where he could be a zero, right? And
okay.
it's like I'm comfortable taking him.
Where he is now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
in the 14th round, I wasn't
sure,
taking him. I think he like got up to the 120s. That was a no for me,
right.
with like little reporting, but
Yeah.
and like okay, who's he competing with for targets in the passing game? Terry, stud, but after that, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, maybe not the toughest group in the world to get targets over.
Yeah, McCaffrey is like the wild card for me. Dotson, I've had on my fantasy teams off and on the last year or two. He's kind of up and down. One week, he had scored 23 points, 25 points, and then the next week, he's getting you like 3 to 6 or something. So I agree. He doesn't have a ton of competition there for the targets other than Scary Terry. That's the only one you got to worry about. But which I love, by the way. I love drafting Terry McLaurin this year. I hope he's a relatively high owned person in my portfolio this year because I do think he finally has like a quarterback to throw him the ball. Finally.
Yeah, I like betting on some Terry too, but I take cheap stabs on most of the Commanders guys. I'm not as into John Dotson, who is
Sure.
probably just like not that good, you know.
He's probably just he's just bad. He hasn't shown as
So
much to speak otherwise. So
we got 4 more picks here, right?
yep. Yeah, we got yep.
Okay, so I think we
We
go uh, QB, 2 tight ends, and a wide receiver.
yep, but I don't love Kate Otten.
Okay, well we don't need
Do
to
you
take
like
Kate
Kate
on.
Otten?
No, there's other guys. I think for this pick, let's go. This guy is killing me with it. Let's go Malachi Corley,
Okay.
get our last wide receiver. The hope for him is that he becomes the second target
Right. With
for
Aaron
the Jets.
Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. Dude, Garrett Wilson's gonna
Yeah,
get
and
so
like
many
I've been people
targets.
like I'm not that worried about that. The Jets
About
brought him
Rodgers'
in.
health?
Yeah, like I think the Jets are going to be good. Could Rodgers get hurt again? Sure, he could get hurt again. But I
Sure.
think the Jets will be a good like going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers has got to be a huge upgrade. You know.
I know it's a shame we
Uh,
never got to see it.
yeah.
It's so crazy.
Well, I could just feel it. I could just feel he was going to smash last year. What's the tight end button looking like?
Um, Isaiah Likely. I like Noah Font here.
What's
Um,
QB look like?
Levis, McCarthy, Drake May, Derek Carr.
Okay, click tight end again.
There we go.
Let's go likely.
Okay.
A lot of upside. Um, adds to our Ravens bet a little bit with us having Zay Flowers.
Yep.
You know, I think we're gonna take 3 tight ends, and so
Ye-
Goddard's our
right.
like steady guy. We get a third guy, and then we'll end with a quarterback, and we'll live with our quality of wide receivers. We'll live with some solid mid-round running back targets, and then Hurts and whoever we get a QB. Which
So who do you like at quarterback here? Because I'd look at this list and like I told you, I've already said it. Like I need to stack. I just finally need to stack. However, it's not really an option here. So
so there are some stacks you could force if you want.
well, I don't think we have to, but that's me. But I need you to help break me out of that funk here. So I want to know, like, I really do. Like, who would you take here looking at this quarterback list? Like, who should I queue up so I'm ready for it? depending on who ends up, being taken off the board between now and our pick.
Well, with us taking, like, I think going Fields and just living it, like going Fields is totally fine
The
as QB2.
potential.
I think
Yep.
Daniel Jones is fine as QB2. Both have rushing upside.
Okay.
If Chigakonko is still there, you could convince me on Levis and hope Chig is there.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Jones, you could also take a tight end from the Steelers. I like Drake May. I like JJ McCarthy, but we're not going to have them stacked. And honestly,
Sure.
that could be fine. Like
Okay.
at least, especially May, who will give you some rushing upside. And like, yeah, I hate Chigakonquo, but if we are going, I like
hate.
Woods. Woods is the guy. No, I hate Chigakonquo. I think he's terrible. But
is it because his name is Chig? Is it because his mother named him
it's
Chig?
because he's been so bad. Like there was no one there, and he's just not good.
I know. No, it's not somebody I get excited about. I'd rather go
like, and Johnny Woods. I am happy to take as our third tight end.
Okay.
But it means we won't have a stack, and that's fine if our QB2 is Fields or Jones. And like the Woods Jones combo gives you week 17 correlation.
Yep. I don't. Yeah, you're right. So it's like, okay, do we weigh that? I love that week 17 correlation. But I do love the idea of having Fields on this team because obviously, we drafted Jalen high enough where we're like, we want him to be in our roster every week, hopefully, because that means he's smashing it. And then for, the end of the season, if he has an off week or whatever, Justin Fields is in there and we know he can put up a ton of points and we don't need to stack him. So I like that. But then I do like that little correlation there. Daniel Jones, how do we think he comes back?
Okonkwo out. Take it was Levis got drafted. So get him.
Okay.
Get him out. He was bad.
Get him out of there. He's gone. He's gone. He never was there. But like Daniel Jones's leg, is his leg going to be okay? Because I think you got to have the rushing upside with Jones, right, to feel okay. And
I think the bigger concern is his neck, and
the other concern
with Jones is if the Giants are not competitive towards the end of the season, they might sit him just like the Broncos sat Russ. So there is the risk. I mean, Fields and Jones are both risks for zeros.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm okay going Fields, who is a bigger swing at upside. We won't have – we do have correlation. Fields and we have all the Chiefs wide receivers. So Justin Fields is running in touchdowns and the Chiefs are throwing touchdowns. Like that's our week 17 stack.
Yeah, we got to go with Fields if he sits. Oh, shoot.
You can see that now, right? Like Fields running it in against the.
Absolutely. But now I said it too. I was nervous somebody was going to screw us.
Woo.
Woo.
I was
Fields right there. Just give us Fields. I don't even care.
If you really wanted to, like, I'm not worried about Russell. Is it possible Russell is the quarterback? For sure, it's possible. But come on, it's Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I just think they're gonna have to give the keys to the kingdom to Fields.
No, I agree. Give me the upside that Fields provides because I mean, Russ isn't the future. He's not going to win a Super Bowl. I mean, so what are you doing with him, honestly? Fields is young enough where it's like, maybe given the right system, put him in a good spot. And, maybe he can turn it around. Maybe he can become an actual good quarterback and not just a good fantasy quarterback. But all right. So what happens if Jelani Woods got snagged here? Let's just say it. It's probably not going to happen, but
then we don't draft tight end.
Okay. Look at that.
That
love when it all comes together like that. All right.
I love this team, man. I think it's a great one.
I'm excited because, listen, I think it's unique too. All right, we've got. Do you want to? All right, let me go back here. Let's read it off in order. We've got Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, two stud running quarterbacks here. Justin Fields is going to be a stud there in Pittsburgh. Jonathan Brooks, Trey Benson, Zeke Elliott, Zach Charbonnet, Jalen Wright, and Ray Davis from the Buffalo Bills. We've got A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, Hollywood Brown, all the Browns. We've got Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice, all of Kansas City's wide receiving core. Malachi Corley rounding out that group. And then our tight ends are Dallas Goedert, Isaiah Likely, and Jelani has never met a jump ball he can't catch Woods. I love it.
Yeah, I think we swung for upside at every position. At quarterback, obviously, We got the two running quarterbacks. You're hoping that
Yep.
Hurts is QB1, QB2. We swung for a ton of upside at wide receiver, especially in a half-point PPR game, just like
Yep.
betting on good teams, betting on guys who can win down the field. Our running back group has a good mix. We have a lot of rookies there, so a lot of unknown. But if we can get that early season production, it should be some upside with guys
Yep.
like Benson. Like maybe Zeke is plotting there in the early season, giving us some weeks. And
Yeah.
then maybe Jalen Wright's seeing the field, gives you a big spike. Malachi Corey is a nice little stab at upside too at wide receiver, rookie guy. The Jets kind of have to have him develop. And then, like our tight end room also offers upside where you got Goddard, who I was not into 7th round Goddard last year, but now he's a 10th round pick. He has contingent upside. If someone gets hurt, he correlates well. Likely massive swing at upside, could be a 0, but we know the upside case. Maybe he's even seen the field without an injury. And then Jelani Woods was like literally the most athletic tight end like ever.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, could for sure smash, and the Colts could be a pretty decent team, like around 9 to 10 wins or so, with a pretty easy schedule down the stretch.
Yeah, they could. Let's go with 10. I'm telling you, man, if they stay healthy, I think they're going to be, not only are they going to be pretty good, I think they're going to be fun to watch too.
They need to dominate their division because their division is like everyone tried to get better in their division, where it's like even the Titans, who you would put as last there, that you could
They went
see
out and spent money, spent tons
yeah,
of money.
you could squint and see it where it's like, okay, they have Calvin Ridley now. They upgraded their O-line. Does Will Levis take that step? Like that's really the question. Right. Like, probably not, but maybe,
Probably not. I like that attitude. Probably not, but he could. I like it. Like you said, like Zeke kind of keeps us moving in the beginning, the old reliable veteran, while some of our guys are getting used to it, and some of our rookie running backs. And then all of a sudden, when we really need them most, they just take off at the end of the year and they've found their footing and they've carved out their role there and they're carrying us to the $1 million. Listen, I have to ask you a question.
$1.5 million. $1.5 million.
I don't want to sell ourselves short here. When you drafted and won that team, like so you draft the team, you go through the season, are you tracking and like at one point do you start tracking and you're like, all right, this team is like really good? Is it like literally week 17 that you're there? And then are you texting your family and friends? And did you know, so it's like a 4 or 5, 10-part question. And did you know, like when you drafted the team, that it was like a really good team? Like, do you remember that at all? I mean, I know if you're drafting like 300 teams, they probably all get lost in the shuffle, but I'm just curious because I've never won $1 million. So I'm just curious.
So, I mean, this is a long time ago now we're talking, right? I won Ball Mania 2, but
it's not that long.
I have vague memories of the start of the draft just because it was again, I bought a fear-based dip where that year there was fear about Rodgers like playing for the Packers, maybe a trade happening. And so like Aaron Jones kind of fell in drafts. And then Jonathan Taylor fell in a draft because Carson Wentz got hurt or something like that. And so it caused him to like fall, which didn't really make sense to me because I was like,
yeah,
well, they're going to ride JT Moore if Wentz is not, like able to quarterback. And so, I mean, I check my best ball teams every week, like while I'm watching the games, I'm checking in on teams sometimes. I definitely like each week, just kind of like scroll through, look at the teams.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know this was going to be the team, but what I remember about that year is like that year, Tampa was a big, like a lot of people had Tampa pieces, right? Because Tom Brady had a good year that year. There was Antonio Brown still, Mike Evans, Godwin, like they were all crushing. And so I had a lot of semifinals teams, which is hard to do, right? Because it's such harsh advance rates. But I didn't have a lot of Tampa, and so the Saints shut out like Tampa that week 16 game, which was huge for me because
they always do. They always play them tough.
Yeah, and because the guys they didn't score well, so they weren't well represented in the finals.
Okay.
And they actually did have a good week 17, but there just wasn't anyone with them. And then it allowed me to advance. and I was on my cousin's bachelor party. He's closer to a brother to me. We grew up
Yeah.
in the same town. He's my second cousin, but like so I was on his bachelor party for week 17, and I had always like told my homies group chat. I was like, because I started playing best ball kind of the year before, and so like I'd be like, guys, can I get a week 15 in the chat? And they'd be like,
Yeah.
fine, sure, week 15. I get a week 16. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. And then like week 17 got there, and I was like, guys, like I could win $1 million, and I don't. And I'm sure they were just like, okay, bro, whatever.
Sure. Sure.
And like there's only 160 people in the final that year. Best ball was not what it is today. Where like I remember like reaching out to like some of the sim guys and being like, would you guys like sim this final? Like I'm so curious. Like I started like manually making an Excel sheet of the teams to
I love it.
um see where my like ownership edge was. And
Yeah.
because like I had T Higgins had a massive week 16, so I was able to sneak in like a 7% owned Jamar Chase who scored 50 points week 17. I had the Rashad Penny Amon Ra correlation where they played each other week 17. That kind of helped popularize week 17 stacks the following years, and they both scored 30. And so, whatever, it's Sunday of the bachelor party. We're like at the bars. We stayed up. We had a crazy night the night before in Key West. Um, like we were staying on my parents' houseboat, but I got so drunk I forgot to tell the guys the address,
Okay.
and so like I'm talking like guys are like strolling into the house at like 6 a.m. after being up the whole night. It's not a big island, right? But
Yeah.
I,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was on them too. Like they should have asked me for the address. I
Sure.
just didn't. I didn't think about it. So whatever. We were drinking all night. We were watching the morning games. Had the morning games. I also had a team in the puppy final that year,
Wow.
and also some other sites. And I was winning the puppy at the start of the 1 o'clock games, and
Okay.
I was like, I was okay in best ball in best ball mania. I was also doing well, but I had Jamar Chase on both teams. I drafted
Okay.
a lot of him that year, and I mean, Josh Allen scored 2 rushing touchdowns for me, but I was like, I don't know, I was in like 50th or 20th, or I can't remember what I was in Best Ball Mania, but
Yeah.
we left the house to go to the bars for the 4 o'clock games, and that's when Amon Ra and Rashad Penny started going absolutely nuclear, and I was like, that's when it clicked. I was like, oh my god, like I'm
Yeah. Are
probably
you
gonna have,
freaking out? You're freaking
and
out, right?
then Noah Fant caught 2 garbage time touchdowns from Drew Lock. And
Holy
now it's
smokes.
like I had such a huge lead. It was like, but there were still a lot of people with Devontae Adams, Mark
Sure.
Andrews, and Cooper Kupp were over 50% owned, and neither of them had a blow up game, which was important, right? Because ownership
Okay.
really condenses.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not like freaking out or anything. Like I didn't buy the bar drinks, but I'm definitely like, holy shit, like
Yeah.
we went and watched the night games, and then I dodged it on. My friends all left on Monday, so I was by myself actually for the final bit. But all I had to fade really was like Nick Chubb scoring 50 points and
Okay.
Najee scoring like 80 points, and so it
Dude.
felt pretty real. But I had to wait the
Yeah.
full day, and then
Yeah.
like at the time, Underdog was like they were just kind of starting. They hadn't paid out this much money, so it took
Yeah.
them like a week or so to pay me. Like I think that's like streamlined now, but like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel real until like the money
Yeah.
hits your account or anything.
Like, hey guys, I don't mean to be a bother, but
Yeah, I was like,
I'm gonna get that money, right?
I
Like
think I
we're all
like
good
didn't
here, right?
I didn't like send something correctly, and so that's what like a holdup was. And so like I just thought like I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't
Dude,
want to be in
that's
the stream.
awesome. What a story though. The fact that you were like that you were down, like, hanging out with all your friends and you got to kind of sweat it out with them. Like that's wild, dude.
Yeah, and
What a
then the
feeling that
next year
must be.
I was with my cousin too when I won those 2 high stakes tournaments, but I was like, "Well, I gotta run it back for the finals," like,
Yeah.
and that's when the Bills-Bengals game got canceled, which
Oh,
maybe would have prevented me from winning one of the tournaments or maybe not, but it was kinda like I mean, we didn't know what was gonna happen, so that was like a
yeah.
different feeling. That was like a, "Oh, whoa, like, did this
Wow.
guy die?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, am I winning this? You know, it's like,
Right. Yeah.
oh,
It's weird. No, I
what's
remember
everything
that.
here?
Dude, that's
So
so
yeah,
cool that you were kind of involved in like, not cool, but like you were kind of like waiting on the edge of your seat. Like it had big implications for you and stuff too, with everything
yeah.
that was going on. It was such a bizarre thing.
I thought I was going to win anyways, and I think that
Okay.
can be debated by the guy who had the most Bills and Bengals players. He would disagree with me, but
Sure.
the guy in second, I can just tell you, like he was really being like, "This should be over. Like the contest rules are clear." And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna
You're
be
like,
what
we're gonna
it's
let
gonna
them duke it out. Yeah, they're gonna
be.
tell you if you win or not. Dude, that's awesome. What a story, man. Like, listen, I've said it before. Like, you're the GOAT in my eyes. I appreciate you being on here. This was a ton of fun. I'm gonna make sure I name this Liam and David's $1 million team here, and I'll send it to
Million
you
and a
too, so
half,
you have a
man.
copy of it.
1.5 to first. Stop saying
1.5.
your
Well,
kids
I know. I just, I don't want to say it too much. It's going to be a lot of money. Let's just put it that way. That we're going to win a lot of money. All right. And I appreciated being able to pick your brain and stuff too. And you've kind of opened up the door to me to pick your brain a little bit more on Twitter. So hope you don't mind. But I
Yeah,
appreciate you being on here,
this was
dude.
fun, man. Thanks
Dude,
for having me on.
listen, this was a ton of fun. If you want to do this again, you let me know. You say the word. And before we leave here, tell people what you're doing, tell people what's going on, what you got going on, and anything else that you think is relevant or valuable right now.
Yeah, I mean, I recently launched the best ball site, beatbestball.com. You can check me out on YouTube. Just type in my name, Liam Murphy. You might have to add fantasy football there. And you can find me on Twitter at Chesley.
That's awesome. Hey, last thing, where did the Chess Liam name come from? I mean, are you a big chess player? Are you a chess champion just like you're a best ball champion, or?
So I used to be a chess coach in New York City, and I was
Wow.
working for chess.com, and I was working for chesskid.com, which is part of chess.com, and I was doing streams for them. I was writing articles for them. So I was really kind of on the chess side, and I just haven't changed my, like, I should probably change it to like something fantasy football or just my name, but I just haven't.
I don't know. You got that screenshot with the $1 million next to that name. I think I think you're locked in now. I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
You're a big deal. You're locked in.
that's
All
fair.
right. Well, dude, thanks for hanging out. I'm going to call it here. Guys, I don't ever like do the right thing and say like and subscribe, but like the video, check out Liam's stuff, check out his website. I am actually signed up for it too. It's awesome. Love getting some insight there. So we'll catch you guys later.